I just read a very, very short but extremely emotionally devastating manhwa, and I want to talk about it. And it's called this, Homo Plastikos, which, to be honest, is probably not what you're thinking at all, because it shook me. So this is only 7 chapters long, and the main character is this guy here. He is an acclaimed author named Jaehyun. And so he's like a consultant as well as an author, and he's extremely successful. And the story starts off actually in a morgue. And it's this professor reviewing like these mass. Okay, so that's how it starts. And then we cut to this guy. He's in a high school. He's interviewing and mentoring some students, and one girl in particular really like shakes him to his core with her ambivalent attitude towards life, and saying that basically she thinks the world's over, etc., etc. It's a very, very dark story, let's put it that way. And so Jaehyun has a partner, I think fiance / wife, called Seolan, and I probably said her name wrong, and I sincerely apologize if I did. Anyway, before he goes to his job at the high school consulting, he notices that her toothbrush is all like gnarled and like chewed up, and he starts to notice that people are chewing on plastic. And partway through his day, he kind of panics and rushes home and finds her like chewing on plastic to the point where she's injuring herself. So he like stops her, rushes her to hospital, and it ends up saving her life. Anyway, when she's settled in hospital, he heads home to grab some stuff for her. And when he gets home, he realizes their apartment's kind of a mess, so he wants to clean it a little bit, and he comes across some plastic straws, and he kind of descends into a little bit of madness, and he kind of starts eating plastic too. Anyway, he ends up going on a complete binge and ignoring his wife in hospital for 5 days, to the point where she gets desperate. She can't get hold of him, so she contacts her friend Choi, who goes in to check on him. And Choi is like a TV presenter or something like that. Anyway, she also falls victim to this same thing where people are eating plastic. And she actually ended up doing like an expose on the problem, and she put it on TV, and it was completely ignored. Her bosses were absolutely furious at her because they're not that kind of channel that make like conspiracy stories, so they ended up firing her. And she gives Jihyun some medication to take to suppress his appetite so he can stop eating plastic. And then she asks for him to help her get this story out so people know what's going on. But before all that, he rushes to the hospital to go get his partner, and he discovers the hospital in complete disarray. There's people all over the place. There's people in the streets like chewing on plastic, looking like zombies. He manages to rescue her from the hospital before a nurse sets fire to it, and then herself. It's very, very dark. There's a lot of violence in this. Anyway, so he takes her home, and she's kind of in withdrawal, I guess, from the plastics or whatever. So while she's resting, they confine themselves into their house. They force themselves to eat normal food, even though it tastes bland to them, etc., etc. Himself and Choi are discussing whether this is the new pandemic. So it's really interesting, very, very fascinating. Anyway, so he writes like about this because, again, he has a huge platform. He's a very popular author, and he talks about his wife's experience, and then he posts it, and it kind of goes a little viral. Major news outlets, again, are purposely ignoring it, but it goes viral on like social media, etc., etc. And it gains his wife / partner a lot of unwanted attention, and she's furious about it, which, you know, I kind of understand, because he didn't really discuss it with her before he kind of exposed her entire private life and her deeply personal medical issues to the entire world. And again, like I said, he's got a huge platform, so a lot of people saw this. And so she completely withdraws from him, completely. Shuts herself in the bedroom, doesn't speak to him, barely eats, barely responds, blah, blah, blah. It's awful. And instead of kind of trying his best to like connect with her and make sure she's okay, he just kind of withdraws himself too, so they're just separated. And in the meantime, Choi reaches out to him again and says, hey, there's this bar in Itaewon that's having this like plastic eating party. do you want to come along and like do some research, blah 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 blah. So he's like, yeah, you know, I will. And he says to his wife, I'll be back later. No response. So he leaves, and he realizes it's snowing. And this is significant because him and his partner, every time it snowed, would go out and make snow ducks. This is her in healthier times, making the little snow ducks. So, and he's like, I have to let her know it's snowing. Maybe we can make snow ducks later. So he goes to the bar, and he tries a little bit of the plastic, and he's speaking to Choi, and he asks, you know, Choi, like, for help, and she's like, I'm sick, my sister's passed away, there's no hope for me, it's up to you now, I've basically lost all hope. And she starts just like eating the plastic to the point where she's injuring herself, and then the club is full of people just like her doing this, and he kind of freaks out, and he's like, what the fuck am I doing? Why do I care about all these people that don't want to listen to me and just call me a weirdo? I just need to take care of my wife. And he like rushes home to try and get to her. This is another shot from the club. This is beautifully drawn. Look at the colors on this. You know, and again, like, he kind of comes to some realizations, that like Gen Z seem to be the ones with the strong compulsion to eat plastic, especially after the pandemic. And so this is fascinating, right? Because remember, Gen Z was kind of big news a while back for eating the Tide Pods. I wonder if that kind of inspired the story. I don't know. That's just my theory. Anyway, he kind of has a come to Jesus moment about this whole thing. So anyway, he panics, leaves the club, jumps in a taxi, begs the guy to like get him home ASAP because he's worried about his wife. And he comes to a realization that when he left, she wasn't moving. And so he gets home and nothing's changed. And he said that the room is very lifeless. Yeah, she so fucking dark. Begs her to wake up, you know, but she's never gonna wake up again, sadly. You know, and he's like, we have to make snow ducks, it's just really sad. This was only 7 chapters long, but whew, wow, a lot happens. And then I didn't take a screenshot of it, but he notices in the room after he's kind of like calmed down a little bit, not really, that there's some boxes in the corner, and he didn't notice, and he's like, what are these? And he goes over and he opens them, and they're full of positive pregnancy tests, which obviously upsets him more because he's like, she was pregnant, oh my god, we always wanted a family, blah blah. Kind of loses it, and then he starts to eat the tests because they're made of plastic, and then that's the last we see of him. So one can only assume, yeah. Anyway, then we cut back to this professor, and he has been studying infants born during this time period, and it turns out that infants are being born with stomachs that are much stronger than your average human stomach and fully formed, like almost razor sharp teeth. And he said that this is a generation of humanity that can withstand eating plastic. And so his theory is this generation of humans will be the one that saved the planet by consuming all the plastic that's been choking it for decades. Here's a closer shot. I mean, honestly, I don't have children. Can you imagine, though, giving birth? A baby has fucking razor sharp teeth? Like, what the fuck, you know? Yeah, but that's how it ends. Like, a new human race that is able to eat plastic, and they are the hope for the planet. So that was Homo Plastikos, and that's what they call them at the end. This new generation of human, they call them Homo Plastikos, so people that can eat plastic. Plot fucking twist. But yeah, this was amazing, amazing. I binged through it in like half an hour because it's very short, very to the point. A lot happens, but they round the story off perfectly. So if you're looking for a dark but short manhwa to read, this might be the one for you. Thanks for watching.